The closer I get to finishing this Indian Chief, the more question I get from people of why I built Indians and not Harleys. And honestly, it's not a simple. Well, no, there's a simple and there's a long form of this. The simple answer is I built Indians because nobody else is rebuilding Indians. The long answer is my first American bike was an Indian Scout bobber. I almost bought a Fat Bob, decided not to buy it. Reason being, I thought the Scout bobber was the better deal. Fast forward, I wrecked that bike, and then I went several years without owning an Indian. Then people were saying like, dude, you need to get another Indian. So I test rode this bike, the Indian Chief, when Indian redesigned it, did a press event on it, fell in love with the bike and said, at some point I want one of those bikes. Fell in love with the bike. Like it had me in a chokehold. And then I started researching auction wrecked bikes. And I really wanted to know how to get a wrecked bike. And I had flipped bikes before this, one successful, one failure. But I knew that having a wrecked bike or a project could be the next step that this channel, me being a creator, me being a motorcycle enthusiast, that was the logical next step, especially from somebody like myself that I like working on stuff. So the first one I bought last year was in February. I bought an Indian Chief, and I bought that bike because at the time, nobody, and I think even right now, nobody is doing detailed rebuilds of Indian motorcycles. And I saw this bike, this platform, being that it was 2022 motorcycle, and it had such a buzz to it, and it was a bike I really wanted to own, and plus it's so simple, it made sense to buy an Indian Chief. So I rebuilt that first one, learned a lot about this bike, and then I ended up buying 4 more. So I've had 5 Indian Chiefs in over a year. And since then I've done Harley rides. I've been on the Nightster, the Lowrider ST, I've been on the Heritage, I've been on the Pan America, and like I said, I rode the Fat Bob. I've also ridden a Breakout. I've been on a Road Glide. I've been on those bikes, and they're incredible. But a part of me was, well, what really brought me into Indian years ago, I say years ago because it's been multiple years. In 2018 was that like I saw having a bike that wasn't a Harley is cool. Like it was an opportunity to be a part of something that was growing again. Like Indian was bought up by Polaris, they brought the brand back, and at the time, in 2014 through 16, I wasn't feeling the heritage style Indians. I didn't like the valence fenders, I didn't like the fringe, I didn't like them. But when they came out with the Scout bobber, I was like, yo, I like that. So I bought one. And since then, I've just been on this whole Polaris trip, like the Victories, the Magnum, the Hammer. I had the Hammer in the garage, I had the Judge as well. So yeah, I like Indians. Now, I will tell you, this bike has been more than just rebuilding this bike. It's given me the opportunity to learn motors. I've stripped this bike down publicly, I think, more than anybody. And it has taught me so much, or especially in the level of detail that has been done, just to show people what it's like to work on these bikes. Because you go into a conversation, you say like, yeah, I ride a Harley, or I built a Harley. Then you say, well, yeah, I ride and built an Indian. They can be like, an Indian? Like, what? Like a lot of people still don't even know that Indians are like back. A lot of people don't know. Like if Indian wasn't on the side of this tank, they would think that it's a Harley. And that's just the ingrained effect of Harley Davidson that they've had on the world, right? So I take pride in knowing that I'm building something or doing something that a lot of people aren't doing. And that is something that I've always kind of found joy in. I've always been that person that saw an opportunity in something, and I wanted to do something that nobody else was doing. For instance, my senior quote is, when you lose the right to be different, you lose the right to be, or you lose your freedom, pretty much. I forget the exact quote, but it's like when you lose the right to be different, you lose the right to be free. I forget who the owner of that quote is, but it's in my senior book. It was my senior quote. But that's really true. Like, I like being different, and doing this is different. It's just different, and it's been a pleasure, and it's been a great learning experience. And that's not to say that I won't own another Harley. I had a V-Rod. I love that bike. I still miss that bike. And the owner of that bike is very happy that he has it now. But this Chief has taken up a lot of my time, and I've learned so much. This is the first bike I've ever torn a motor apart on. The first bike I've pulled a motor out of and done a full frame up powder coat custom with different wheels and all this kind of stuff going on. So this bike is my baby, and it is my entry into understanding motorcycles more. So it's more than just money. It's more than just a status symbol. It is something that I feel like I'm doing that nobody else is doing, and that drives me to because it's the thought of just inspiring other people to do something different and not necessarily have to follow the crowd. So it's not to say I won't own another Harley. I will at some point, because I do like Harleys. I love Harleys. I love bikes. But these Indians, man, I love these bikes because they're easy. They're really easy to work on, and with this stripped down frame, which is very similar to Fat Bob, Breakout, Street Bob. It's not like it's just some revolutionary thing, but having less tech on here, unlike the Chieftain that I have, it's like all the fairings, and there's a lot more electronics that are in there with the bags. And granted, it's not that much difficult, but it's just having this stripped frame, man. It's just bare frame bike. It's just, it allows you to kind of get the fundamentals down. And once you get the fundamentals, like me building this motor, stripping it down, I have so many fundamental things that are inside of me now that I'm able to take that and apply it towards other things. So this bike, this platform, this brand has just taught me a lot. So that is why it is me choosing Indian over Harley. It's just what I chose, and it's just what I went with. But I can tell you that I do think working on these bikes is more expensive than it would be had you had a Harley equivalent, because Harley's been around so much longer, and their manufacturing process is going to be different. They're going to be able to produce more parts. Producing more parts, moving more bikes means that replacement parts are going to be cheaper. So I do think rebuilding a Harley is probably maybe 30% cheaper than it is rebuilding an Indian, and I want to explore that because I have done research. So the long answer is that what I just said, and the short answer is just I'm being different, and I like being different, and I just really like this platform. This bike has had a chokehold on me, and it still has one, and that is why I have or currently own 4 of them. So I hope that brings you value. I hope that you understand my mindset a little bit more, and yeah, I hope you follow along as I continue to rebuild these bikes and continue to learn. So yeah, that's it.